going to solve some quiz from API SIFE, Source Inspector Fixed Equipment. So if you register with us, you can study our first and second module, and also try our free quiz here if you click. I'm going through this question in this free quiz. Cold working is plastic deformation below the recrystallization temperature. So always remember, cold work is always below the recrystallization temperature. Simple as that. Hot working is plastic deformation above the recrystallization temperature. Okay? So that's the main difference between cold work and hot work. Maximum allowable working pressure is the maximum gauge pressure at the top of the pressure vessel. The reason is that that's the most onerous one, not accounting for a static head. So if the gauge is at the top showing some numbers, the pressure at the bottom would be more than that. You account for of the liquid. Magnesium symbol is Mg. Now this might look like an easy question, but you need to know the material test reports. You need to look at it, and you should know what each symbol of the material there means. Okay, manganese is symbol is Mn. Carbon is C, for example. Iron is Fe. MPS stands for nominal pipe size. You can see it says permitted size, pipe specification, pipe standard. It stands for nominal pipe size, not the actual pipe, but the nominal, very close to it. So you should know the very basics of the terms and definitions. Maximum permitted ovality tolerance of a pressure vessel, Dmax minus Dmin minimum, shall not exceed 1% of the nominal diameter of the vessel. This is according to Pressure Vessel Construction Code, ASME Section 8, UG80. Qualification is a combination of all the following except commitment. Now remember, qualification, it needs a skill, it needs experience, it needs knowledge, it needs training. But commitment is something personal, and it's nothing to do with the qualification. The process of monitoring or observing the inspection activities is associated with the materials, equipment, and or component for adherence to the specific procedure, product specification, code or standard specified in the contractual requirement is called quality surveillance. So quality surveillance means you need to monitor and observe the inspection activities to do what? To make sure that it's been built according to the purchase order, the contract, and the associated specification. Root mean square is a measure of surface finish. So you should need RMS. What does it mean here? Documents filled out by the SI source inspector indicating concerns or other factual description of what was noticed during the course of product surveillance, but not necessarily issues that may be considered defects or requiring NCRs, is called supplier observation report. So it's not an NCR, but it could turn into an NCR if it was not addressed by the vendor. It's intended to flag off the issues and problems and may lead to an NCR if not resolved. So it is Supplier Observation Report, or SOR. It gives vendor a chance to explain and correct any issue. Document that contains the requirements and acceptance criteria for the manufacturing and fabrication of specific types of equipment and component is called specification. Now here, obviously codes and standards also shows the acceptance criteria, but that is a general requirement. Specification is when you're doing for a specific equipment and within the project. Reheating a hardened metal to a temperature below the transformation range to improve toughness is called tempering. Now, sintering and sensitizing is actually hardening of the metal surface. Heat treatment can increase the toughness, but actually the main primary purpose is to relieve stress. It's not aimed at increasing the toughness, although one of these byproducts could be an increased toughness because of relieving stress, so increasing the ductility, but always choose the best answer. Also, you can flag up the question here, API exam, and we have progressed. There is a progress bar here, and we have also timed our mock exam question. VDDR stands for Vendor Document and Drawing Requirement. Now, there might be other terms used in project spec, but you should remember these, such as VDRL, Vendor Document Requirement List. This is a standard term used by the API. Authorized inspector's approval is required prior to release. Now, if you do after the release or during the release, it really doesn't mean anything. It should, because once it's released, what's the point of approve something once it's released? So it's always prior. Each inspection report should be reviewed for all the following except, so inspection report for the content, for the completeness, for the technical clarity. Now, progress report is the least issue that is normally considered by the inspector, because progress is followed by the expediter, and there is always a conflict of interest when you assign an inspector to do quality check as well as to expedite or move things around. The ultimate risk associated for each equipment item is probability of failure multiplied by consequence of failure. So you should know that it's a multiplication, simple multiplication. No division, no addition, nothing. If any conflict should arise during the inspection activity, the source inspector should notify her supervisor for resolution as soon as possible. You have to observe a hierarchy here. Don't argue with the vendor. Don't directly go to the client or go to sub-vendor for that case. Talk to your supervisor and see what is the next course of action. Later edition of industry codes and standards does not apply if the contract or purchase order has specified an earlier edition of a specific standard. So because that's what has been agreed, you cannot change it unless you change the purchase order. An order of precedence is always the purchase order has got the highest order of precedence here. All project documents should have been reviewed, approved by the purchaser. So purchaser has the final authority to say how is it going to be built. Okay. So you can type in your email, and then the results shall also be sent to your email and you can also study our first and second module for free. Thank you for listening.